Hi there, and welcome to an eBridge webinar, a food for thought webinar. I've shortened it to about 15 minutes. So, in 15 minutes, you'll learn some lessons that eBridge has learned through 6 customers of ours that use Microsoft Dynamics Great Plains, or GP, as their ERP in their back office. And they supply to e-commerce stores or marketplaces like Amazon or Shopify or BigCommerce, or they sell in store to Target or Costco doing EDI. And so some lessons learned through our integrations. So it's specifically on Dynamics GP, although eBridge does a few other things as well. So before I get into the webinar, I'm just going to talk very briefly about eBridge. We've been around for 25 years. We're all located in one office just outside of Toronto. And we've been doing this for quite a while now. We have a middleware which sits in between the business systems you need to use to operate your business. So we sit in between your back office ERP like GP, and we connect data to the channels that you sell in. So your CRM, maybe your web store, your EDI trading partners, and that sort of thing. So it's webinar time, and welcome. So in 15 minutes, as I mentioned, I'm going to go through 6 customer stories. What I did was I went around the eBridge office and I interviewed several of our setup eBridge employees. Those are the people that help our customers onboard to the eBridge platform, make sure their data is flowing bidirectionally in the way that they need it to. So I'm going to save the deep dive lessons right inside GP or right inside Shopify, for example, for a later time. So if you really want information on exactly how your GP operates and how the data from there would get into your specific Shopify cart, then we're happy to talk to you. This is really just high-level integration stories from the jungle, from the real life. All right, let me get into it. The first one is a brand you might recognize. A lot of people on their trucks have these antlers from Realtree, or it's also called Jordan Outdoor. I recently bought 2 of their chairs from Walmart, so Realtree sells in-store. They're like camping chairs. They're actually really nice and lightweight. They also, though, have a store on BigCommerce. And BigCommerce is a cart that you can add to your website domain where you can load all the products that you want to sell and allow your customers to simply browse your website and check out online. So Realtree is a strong brand, as I mentioned, and they wanted to improve the efficiency of their BigCommerce store to make sure that anytime somebody places an order, that information gets correctly into GP, and then their shipping information gets directly to the customer, and things are happening in near real time rather than having to do some manual data intervention between systems. So I went to our setup or our implementation consultant who worked on this, and I asked for some real life tips, and I got a funny answer, which is eBridge is just good at GP integrations. We've been doing this for quite some time now. And so we know GP, we know how to get data into it and data out of it. We're a certified Microsoft Gold partner. And so we know our stuff is really the lesson that we learned is, we know GP and we have an adapter built for it with pre-defined workflows. And so it really got us a lot of the way there with already what eBridge had built. I'm going to go to the next. So what specifically, though, did Realtree want from eBridge? They wanted to make sure that every time a new order came into the BigCommerce store, that information would flow right back into GP in near real time. So you can imagine on a very busy weekend before maybe a long holiday weekend, people wanted to order their chairs, or before hunting season, they wanted to order some camo. That order data might pile up if you didn't have an integration middleware or platform like eBridge. Somebody would have to enter all of the order information, who had ordered it, what SKU, what color, and then push it into GP. Inventory levels is a funny thing as well. When you think about it, if you're selling in Walmart, Amazon, and you have a BigCommerce store, those are 3 channels that are depending on the inventory that you have. So making an inventory adjustment across channels is very helpful so that you don't sell something that you don't have for a customer. We also definitely talk, drop shipping. There's different ways that people want to ship to their customers, and so that's part of the discussion, part of the lessons that we learn from our customers before we begin a project. And then finally, shipping updates, making sure that that customer who ordered that camping chair from Realtree gets the tracking information as soon as they need it, so they know that that's going to be on their porch ASAP. So the lesson that we learned also is that they being Realtree, didn't want to reinvent the wheel. They didn't want to have to do any of this internally. And so by using eBridge, we brought them part of the way there, almost all the way there with what we had already built, and then simply made some adjustments or customizations to make sure that the data was being pushed and pulled in exactly the way that Realtree needed it. A couple other lessons learned in this particular case, interestingly enough, is when you're looking at GP and you're looking at BigCommerce, make sure that the fields that you have or the data that exists is very similar. eBridge definitely has a way to take translations between system to system if a field doesn't exist or something needs to be changed, like a decimal point. But to save time and save money, it's important to try and set up your systems in a similar way so that items exist in both places. You're not throwing something into GP that GP doesn't know that's coming, for example. It just saves some time. The other thing is make sure you have people that are knowledgeable about the systems that your integration provider is connecting. It makes things a lot easier. So, for example, if you have a GP VAR or somebody that implemented GP for you, have them at the ready so that if there's a question about how GP is set up or if GP can do something, then we can get that answer very quickly and integration can happen much faster. All right, number two. Number two is a customer called Nutiva. They sell things that help with your health, and we could all use that. So they have an integration for orders, inventory, product catalog, and shipping. So we call each of those a workflow, meaning that somebody at your company doesn't have to enter orders anymore. That's one workflow. So in this case, there are 4. I'm going to jump right to it now. So a cool thing about the eBridge adapter for GP is that we can pull product and inventory in the way that you specifically need it. So in Nutiva's case, there's a way that they want us to pull inventory. So your options are you can pull from a warehouse, you can pull when an item is modified, or you can pull by item type. So it's really up to you. And again, a lesson learned is that make sure when you're preparing to start an integration project that you get into these type of details, that you get into the scope that you need, you get into the fields that exist, you get into exactly where your product will live, and that makes implementing and getting things working the way you need so much easier. So in this case, Nutiva had a decision. Do they want to do integration, have an integration provider, or should they just continue to pay somebody full-time at their company? So that person would be responsible for taking all the order data, making sure it gets into GP, checking a couple times a day to make sure that inventory levels are adjusted across sites. Anytime a new product is added to their catalog, does it get pushed to their e-commerce platform? Making sure customers get shipping information correctly. And you can imagine that actually is almost more than a full-time person. And what if that person goes away? And so they came to the conclusion that integration is just faster and cheaper. And that's why a lot of our 600 customers have come to us. They might have tried something on their own or with an agency that's developing just a particular map for them. And then they came to eBridge because we have things pre-built and they don't really have to own anything. We own the passing of data between systems for them. So in this case, Nutiva uses sales orders from Shopify to GP 2013, shipments from GP to Shopify, inventory to GP from GP to Shopify, and finally item descriptions and pricing updates. So if they're having a sale, that can all be pushed from GP to Shopify. So again, super nice to own that in-house. You're not waiting for somebody to do that update for you. And we all know that in the e-commerce wilderness, it's so important to be able to make those type of price adjustments or even just naming your product something different or changing a description so that you can increase SEO to your website get people to buy. All right, moving on. VFO Group, or now called Vispero, is a customer of ours as well. They actually came to us through the web. They filled out our blueprint builder. It's if you're interested, you can go to ebridgeconnections.com and click Start Planning. And when you're there, it's a blueprint. So pretend you're building a house, and before you start putting wood and digging foundation, you would certainly have a piece of paper that's got the blueprint of what you want to build. And that's what eBridge offers for free on our website. So you can take a look, you can enter in GP as your ERP, even the version that you're using of GP, and then type on the other side in exactly what e-commerce platform you're using or EDI trading partner you're trading with. You can see what pre-built workflows we have out of the box for you. So that's how Vispero came to us. And they actually selected all of the touch points, and then we had a scoping call and really discovered where their priorities lie. So what do they do with us, and what lessons have they learned? They automate orders, inventory levels, and shipments. So similar story to the previous customers I talked about. They launched their Shopify store in order to make sure, though, that the data properly landed in systems. They heavily use our translations and business rules. So let me come up with an example. Say that on their Shopify store, when somebody places an order, it's classified as an each. But then when that flows into GP classifies it as an item instead. And so we can make that translation really simply through the back end of our eBridge integration platform. So every time an order comes in, we translate it through to our middleware, which is an XCBL language. Then we push the data into the proper fields with a translation if required. They also take advantage of our business rules, and our business rules are shared amongst all of the customers that use eBridge, so 600 plus. And that saves you time. You can use a business rule to say, every time there's a space in my order in Shopify, I want you to remove that space and push it into GP without. So that's a common business rule. Or a business rule is, every time I get an order from Shopify, I want you to add in my email address for our company into the email that gets sent a shipment information, so that I'm CC'd every time something goes out to the customer. So these type of business rules, there's so many of them at eBridge that you can pick and choose from, and somebody at eBridge in the project management department can help you pick, set up, and test your business rules. So what they were looking for in the end was really a dump from Shopify to GP for all of their customers, new customers, orders, and returns, just getting them into and written into GP. All right, we're already at number 4 here. Number 4 is CB Distributors. While they have a lot going on, lots of products you'd probably recognize, the 2 stores I'm going to talk about is Vapin Plus and 20th Century Smoke, both WooCommerce stores. They had very high volume, so I'm going to switch. So we integrate their orders and shipments. And the main purpose was that they didn't want their systems, GP, and their 2 WooCommerce stores to be in a silo. So it's a similar story in that they learned the lesson that having things siloed equals more manual data work on their side, and it saves so much time to integrate, and it definitely saves a full-time person doing this work. Whereas the goal of all of these people that are selling is to get customers to be happy and satisfied and to return. And so if there's a way to make sure through automation that those people get the correct thing and they get it very quickly, then that pays for itself. The reason I put CB Distributors out there is for a few reasons. One, that a lot of our customers have multiple e-commerce stores through the same cart. So for example, they have Shopify, but they have multiple skins of Shopify. They have an English Shopify, they have a French Shopify. Maybe they have a Shopify store on the side that only sells one thing for a particular B2B situation. eBridge can help you with all of those different channels. So, again, the lesson learned is make sure that you sit down, properly scope what you want to do, and then we can make sure that all of that data gets into the proper places through all of the channels or all of the siloed systems that you have. And finally, on this note, our GP adapter on the sales order side creates documents based on sales order. So you can create RMAs, quotes, or even write to invoice. And again, that can all be talked about during an in-depth scope call. All right, we're running out of time, so I decided to condense the last two customers into one slide. While I'm keeping this fifth customer anonymous, it's definitely a brand you would recognize. It's probably in a corner store of your local business, your local retail plaza. They sell a tax software service, and so you can go into their office and get some tax help during tax season, or you can buy their box software from Costco or maybe your local grocery store or Walmart, and do your taxes by yourself. So in this case, they sell that tax software in many different trading partners or retail outlets. And so, for example, they had 10 trading partners that they wanted to sell. So we have a great relationship with their EDI analyst that works at this company, and she's been to our office several times. So what we did with her is a good lesson is that eBridge set up the integration for 3 of her trading partners. So 3 trading partners with 810s, 850s, and 852s. And we got it all set up properly, got it working, and then we did some training. So we showed her how to set up the rest of the 7. So she could use our translations and business rules and get everything mapped correctly so that when it's busy season and she's stocking the shelves with her tax software for all of the retailers, that things would work properly and were automated, but she also owned it in-house. So when in talking to this customer of ours, she mentioned that before eBridge, really she had 3 alternatives. One was using a third party to send out all of this data for her, but that would cost lots of money and she wasn't in control. So her second one was to build it herself, and that can be very costly. Up front, maybe not so costly in that you develop something very specifically mapped for what you need. But when you upgrade GP, which definitely happens, to a new version, then your mappings might break. So when you use a company like eBridge for integration, you can depend on us making sure that our adapters are updated for the latest version. So you don't have to worry about things breaking. And then I guess the third option was just let's not sell in store, which was not feasible for a growing business. And then finally, a novelty shop called Ideal Village uses eBridge for EDI to GP. And this one's just interesting to me because they have a lot of trading partners, lots of volumes, and they heavily depend on our translations as well. All right. The last bit is this is a screenshot of part of that blueprint builder I was telling you about. So out of the box and pre-built, we have all of these workflows ready for people that use GP as their ERP. So when you dive in, you can see that if you want to push data inbound from somewhere into GP or into your back office, that we have a lot of this ready to go already. Inbound sales orders or POs, invoices, inventory adjustments into GP. And then outbound to any of the channels I talked about, like an EDI trading partner like Costco, or even to Amazon Marketplace or to a Shopify store, for example. We can, out of the box, help you get there with sales orders being pushed out, warehouse receiving advice, notice, export. So really, the sky's the limit. This is what we have built, but we certainly are building all the time onto our adapter. And we'd love to talk to you. So if you have any questions, we're always available. We have a live chat on our website, and we can put you in touch with somebody who can take you through a demo of our software, or even just do a consultation on what could potentially save you time through integration. So it's ebridgeconnections.com. I didn't talk a lot about our platform. I wanted to keep it short, but I will tell you that our integration platform is hosted on Microsoft Azure's cloud. So we have amazing uptime, amazing dependability, great security. So you can trust us even through those very busy holiday times like Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And we have about 600 customers over here at eBridge. We've been doing this for 25 years. And we're so happy to connect with you and ready to talk anytime you're ready. Thanks so much for joining, and I hope you have a great day. Bye now.